Every single generation claims that the new generation has it easier than they had it. However, I would argue that for the first time in modern history, it's clear that life for this current generation of young people is definitely not in fact easier. It's evidently harder than ever growing up as a 16 to 25-year-old in today's modern world, particularly psychologically. The social pressure in regards to money and status is like something we've never seen before, and we are yet to see the long-term effects. But the short-term effects are happening daily and they are very, very real. I predict the social pressures of today to be far more toxic and harmful than the pressures of the past. For example, look at the effects Beauty Magazine had on the female psyche when they were popularized, and now multiply it by 100. That's how much damage and pressure what I'm about to speak on has the ability to do to mine and the upcoming generation. Everywhere we look, somebody is doing better than us, or at least they are making it seem that way. The issue with this is that it causes something I like to call the rush, which is actually something I fell victim to myself, which I cannot lie, did benefit me massively, but at the same time, because I had nobody to warn me, it led me to make a lot of self-destructive and bad decisions fueled by impatience and greed. The rush is a double-edged sword, and the wounds it causes can be fatal. But you need not to worry, because by the end of this video, you will understand this concept in its entirety and be far better equipped on how to navigate today's modern world, particularly in relation to making money, business, and pursuing your goals and pursuing your dreams. Due to the current climate and almost everyone aged 16 to 25 being addicted to social media, we are constantly bombarded with and consuming new information throughout the day. Some people doing so all day, every day. I'm sure you know that person. Every time you look at them, their head's in their phone. Or maybe you are that person. Every freeing moment must be spent consuming and scrolling social media, much of which is simply your friends, peers, and other young people showing off their life's highlight reel. Not to mention the influencers and music artists who are also of the same and similar age showing off ridiculous fast money gains. Now, these posts can act as inspiration and motivation, but in reality, with most people, due to their own limiting beliefs and society's pressures as a whole, it forces us into a state of comparison. Not to mention the fact we were all raised on Hollywood and believe we are entitled to be a superstar and have the same lavish lifestyle without putting in the work, but I'll save speaking on that for another video. Now, the most obvious impact this constant comparison has is that it creates jealousy, envy, and hate. But today, I want to speak on a lesser known and lesser spoken about effect, but a very real, detrimental one plaguing our society and the younger generation. And as I mentioned, one I fell victim to myself. I'm of course talking about the rush. When you see a social media post or someone's extravagant lifestyle, or nowadays, especially if you're in the online business space, then you see people constantly posting their wins, their business models, their lavish lifestyles, and even proof of them making only money that you can dream of, you end up asking yourself one question. Why them and not me? Which can be looked at through two lenses. If they can do it, so can I. Which is how I looked at things. And it's positive, right? But even with this positive outlook on it, this mindset alone doesn't make me entirely bulletproof to the rush, and neither does it make you. As even this can be detrimental because it leaves you unsatisfied with your own position, your own results, and what you have achieved or are on the road to achieving. This is where the real trap lies, because it can essentially push you into making the wrong moves, premature moves, or jumping ship too quick and chasing the next new shiny object without sticking around long enough to see the fruits of the labor from what you already put in, because you've seen now Loaded Larry bragging about making 50k a month doing remote sales. The act of doing this is what I specifically call the rush. Wrong move equals you're likely falling victim to the rush. Premature move, you're likely falling victim to the rush. Chasing a new shiny object, aka business model, you're likely falling victim to the rush. The rush to get what you see someone else having, or at least it seems that they have. Remember, when you walk past a house, you only see the exterior. You see nothing else. Not the interior design, the cleanliness of the house, the people inside, nothing. Social media is very similar. You only see what you see. And in life, if you only go off what you see with your eyes, you're going through life neglectfully. Now, the reason that the rush is so harmful is that it is a thief, a sly, conniving thief. Let me explain. You could be in the position of a lifetime as a young adult or teenager, and the feelings and emotions that the rush invoked inside of you won't allow you to feel good about it, essentially preventing you from being able to count your blessings or recognize your own progress and wins, which then steals your confidence. And without confidence, you definitely won't make the right moves or feel good about yourself internally, which then reflects externally. And the saddest part of all this, far too often, someone who would cut off their own finger to swap places with you is making out that their life is already better than yours. Do you see how deceitful this trap is? This is why you must focus on your own lane, your own goal, and your own life. Comparison is the thief of all joy. It truly is. Before I end this video, I need you to remember, much of social media is a facade. Everything some people post, meticulously curated and orchestrated to paint a certain picture, which then imposes these essentially fake standards onto people. It's why we have young women demanding 1K for first dates from men, when reality is, according to statistics, very, very few men can afford such things, let alone 16 to 25-year-olds. But in turn, this applies pressure to you young fellas out there, leaving you open to and more likely to fall victim to the rush. Now remember, I did say that the rush is a double-edged sword because it has both its positives and its negatives. Part of its positives being that it applies pressure, but this pressure is only good if you're in a state of awareness. You have the ability to limit, control, and you're mentally strong enough to remove the impatience and greed that the rush causes. Another prime example I can give you that imposes and causes this rush, which isn't new, but is definitely more harmful and prominent nowadays, is comparing yourself to the rappers and music artists, particularly the rappers. I grew up in the same type of areas and environment as many of these rappers come from. If it isn't ill-gotten gains, then it's borrowed from others majority of the time. But, of course, from the outside looking in, you don't know this. And you're left wondering and doubting yourself why you don't have all these flashy clothes, a car, and stacks of cash at the age of 17. So then you feel a sense of urgency to get these same materialistic gains as fast as possible. Many even jeopardizing their freedom and futures to do so. Do you see why you must be mindful of this trap? Especially in today's climate, when there are countless opportunities to make the same money or more in a legitimate way. This is a bit of a tangent, but I've also worked on the professional side and seen how video shoots are conducted. And let me just say, even the clothes are rented in a lot of cases. Remember, they are selling you a dream. They are the masters of image, just like many of the influencers you follow in today's world. Now, this isn't to say they aren't making money, because many are. But you must remember, not everything is always as it seems. This also goes for many of the online flexers and gurus out there. You don't know what they're doing behind closed doors to afford what they're portraying, and at the same time, much of it is fabricated and exaggerated. Do not let their portrayal of life force you into the rush and rush you to make the wrong moves. So, I've highlighted the issues this causes, but as promised, there is a solution, and there's 3 parts to it. Believe me, if you keep these 3 elements in mind and put them to practice, you give yourself the best chance at being resistant to the rush. And just so you know, the rush doesn't end at 25, continues forever. Step 1, always keep a 5-year plan. This is how you remain purposeful and stay on the path and process and know where you're going. If you ain't got a map, you'll get lost because you've never been there before. So remember that. Step 2, move like a racehorse. What do I mean by this? You need to operate in a way where you have blinkers on. This is necessary, and it doesn't matter how talented or strong-minded you think you are. You need to practice and adopt this mindset. Because ever since I have, it's helped me massively. Because remember, even the best racehorses get distracted. And last but not least, and possibly the most important one of all, step 3. Remember, you are competing against your yesterday, not somebody else's today. If you keep comparing yourself to others, you can make yourself feel insignificant and discontent. But the truth of the matter is, The only person you're against is yourself. Yes, others are competition, but by remaining focused on yourself is how you end up out-competing them. That's the trick. Anyway, man, that's all I got to speak on for now about the rush. Remember, follow these steps and you give yourself the best chance of being resistant to falling victim to this deceitful trap.